The boarding gate was still open when my phone died in my hand, and I knew my career had just slipped beyond reach. I was 30 minutes from the airport, my suitcase already packed in the back seat of a rental that had broken down on the shoulder like it hated me personally. That flight to Seattle was supposed to change everything. A final interview. Executive track. The kind of chance people spent 10 years begging for. I had spent 12. So I called the only people close enough to help. My father opened the front door before I knocked twice. My mother stood behind him, robe on, coffee in hand, like I was interrupting something sacred. I said my sister could get an Uber, that I only needed the car for 3 hours, that I would pay for gas, detailing, anything. Then my father smiled without warmth and said, "Vanessa needs it for her spa day." I actually laughed because it sounded insane. Then he slapped me. Not hard enough to drop me. Hard enough to make the room go silent. My mother looked away. My sister kept scrolling. I picked up my bag, tasted blood, and walked out without a word. 2 days later, my mother called screaming, "Why aren't the automatic payments clearing?" I let the phone ring 3 times before answering, just to hear how desperate she would sound. "Why aren't the automatic payments clearing?" my mother demanded again, her voice tight, like panic was sitting just under it. I leaned against the cold glass wall of the bus terminal, watching strangers rush past with purpose I no longer had. "Which payments?" "The house. Your father's truck. Vanessa's credit cards. Everything is declining." She lowered her voice, suddenly careful. "Did something happen with your account?" I almost smiled. For 12 years, I had been the invisible structure holding their lives upright. My consulting firm didn't just pay my bills. It quietly covered theirs. Mortgage refinances, car upgrades, tuition extensions, emergency cash transfers labeled as temporary. They stopped asking a long time ago. I stopped reminding them. "Maybe check with the bank," I said evenly. My father's voice cut in from the background. "Stop playing games and fix it." There it was. Not concern. Not apology. Expectation. I pictured his hand connecting with my face. The silence after. My sister's thumb still moving across her screen like I didn't exist. "I missed the biggest opportunity of my life because of you," I said quietly. "And that's our fault," he snapped. I ended the call. An hour later, my phone lit up again, this time from my bank's fraud department. The caller introduced herself as a senior analyst from the fraud department, her tone precise, almost rehearsed, like she'd handled 100 crises before mine. "Ms. Hale, we've detected multiple access attempts on your accounts from unfamiliar devices," she said. "We've temporarily restricted outgoing transfers." My grip tightened on the phone. "From where?" She read off locations that made my stomach drop. My parents' address. My sister's apartment. Even the old desktop in their den I had set up years ago. They weren't guessing passwords. They were using credentials I had trusted them with. "Were any of these authorized?" she asked. I thought about every bill I'd paid without question, every late-night transfer marked urgent, every time I chose peace over confrontation.
"No," I said.
"None of them." She paused, then shifted into protocol. "We recommend you secure all accounts immediately. New credentials. Remove all linked users. We can also flag these attempts for investigation." I closed my eyes, breathing slow, steady. This wasn't panic anymore. This was clarity. "Do it," I said. By evening, every shared access point was gone. Every automatic payment canceled. Every line severed clean. At midnight, my father called again. I answered this time. His voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. "You think you can just cut us off and walk away?" I didn't answer him right away. I let his question sit between us, heavy, unfinished. "You think you can just cut us off and walk away?" he repeated, sharper now. "I didn't cut you off," I said quietly. "I protected myself." A dry laugh came through the line. "Protected? From your own family?" The word family felt wrong in his mouth. "You used my accounts without permission," I said. "That's not support. That's control." My mother's voice slipped in, softer, almost pleading. "We were just trying to manage things. You know your father gets stressed." "By what?" I cut in. Bills I've been paying for years? Silence. Not confusion. Not denial. Just silence. Then my sister finally spoke, her voice edged with irritation. You're overreacting. It's not like you were using that money for anything important. Something inside me went completely still. I thought about the missed flight, the opportunity that won't come back, the hand across my face, the years of quiet sacrifice reduced to nothing. I said, my voice steady. I was using it to build a life you never had to think about. My father exhaled slowly. Fix the accounts.
Now.
I almost did. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder I hadn't touched in years, one labeled with their names. I hadn't opened that folder since the year I decided silence was easier than truth. Every document inside it told a version of the same story. Bank transfers disguised as consulting reimbursements. Mortgage payments routed through shell accounts. Credit lines opened under my name with their usage attached. I hadn't just supported them. I had built an entire financial ecosystem designed to keep them comfortable without questions. And they had never once asked how it worked. I scrolled slowly, letting the details sharpen my memory instead of blur it. Every receipt had a date. Every transaction had a pattern. Every favor had quietly become entitlement.
My phone buzzed again.
This time it wasn't my parents. It was my former hiring manager from Seattle. I heard you missed the flight, she said gently. I wanted to check if everything's okay. I looked around the dim apartment I had rented for 2 nights, temporary in every sense. I had a family emergency, I said, choosing the words carefully. There was a pause then. We haven't filled the position yet. My heart didn't race. It settled. Can you make it here in person within 72 hours? I closed the folder slowly, my decision already forming. Yes, I said. I can. That night, I booked another ticket, with money they no longer controlled. I didn't sleep that night. I organized. Every document from that folder became evidence, not memory. I categorized transactions, highlighted patterns, traced every dollar that flowed from my accounts into their lives. Not out of anger, out of precision. By morning, I had something solid. Not a story. A record. My father called again around noon. I answered on speaker, while continuing to work. You made your point, he said, voice restrained. Now reverse whatever you did. No, I replied calmly. A pause. Then, you're being irrational. I'm being accurate. My mother broke in, her tone shifting between worry and manipulation. We can talk about this. Just fix the payments first. The bank is calling us nonstop. I'm sure they are. Silence stretched, then snapped. You owe us, my father said. Everything you are came from this family. I stopped typing. Everything I was came from endurance, from late nights, from choosing growth over comfort while they chose the opposite. I'm flying out tomorrow, I said. I have an interview. You're not going anywhere until this is fixed, he shot back. I almost laughed. You don't get to decide that anymore. I hung up. Then I forwarded a complete report of financial misuse directly to my attorney. The interview room in Seattle felt colder than it should have, but for the first time in days, I felt steady. I answered every question with clarity I hadn't known I still had. Strategy, leadership, crisis management. I spoke like someone who had lived through something real, not rehearsed answers from a handbook. Because I had. Halfway through, my phone buzzed in my bag. Then again. Then again. I ignored it. By the time I stepped out, there were 12 missed calls. All from my mother. One voicemail. I played it. Her voice was shaking now, stripped of control. We got served, she said. Your father, there are legal notices. They're saying fraud, misappropriation. What did you do? I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes. I told you to fix it, she whispered. This has gone too far.
No.
This had gone exactly where it was always heading. I called my attorney instead. They received the filings, she confirmed. And there's more. Your father attempted another access this morning. That strengthens everything. I exhaled slowly. So what happens now? I asked. They'll either settle quietly, she said, or this becomes public. I thought about everything they valued. Image, control, reputation. Let them choose, I said. An hour later, I got the call. Congratulations, the hiring manager said. We'd like to offer you the position. I smiled. Then my father called again. This time, I answered. I let him speak first. You've made your point, my father said, voice stripped of its usual authority. Call your lawyer. End this. There was no anger left in him, just calculation. For years, I said calmly, you treated me like a resource, not a person. We supported you, he insisted weakly. I almost corrected him. Almost. Instead, I said, you used me. Silence filled the space between us, heavier than anything he could say. My mother came on the line, her voice trembling. Please. We'll fix everything. Just stop this before it becomes public. That word again.
Public.
Not wrong.
Not sorry. Public.
I already gave you a chance, I said. At the door. When I asked for help. No one spoke. I imagined that moment clearly. The robe, the coffee, the hand across my face. The quiet acceptance of who I was to them. I got the job. I added, not for them, but for myself. My father exhaled, defeated. What do you want? For a second, I thought about everything they took. Then I chose something else. Nothing, I said. Because walking away, with everything finally mine, my work, my future, my voice, was more than enough. I ended the call, stepped into my new life, and never looked back.